Hi everyone, so welcome back to another video. Let's talk about pharmacy and how I ended up in residency. Prior to college, I was actually pre-med route, and you've probably heard about this like so many times. Like people are usually pre-med before going into pharmacy, which is not always true. Don't get me wrong, but I fell into that category. I wanted to be a doctor and I was willing to put in all the hard work to succeed. However, I was accepted into college unexpectedly with a pharmacological chemistry major, and I realized then that I knew nothing about pharmacy. So I started exploring what pharmacy was, and first I joined my undergrad's pre-pharmacy society, and then I started attending a bunch of networking events. And I grew to love pharmacy. I love that there's so many opportunities for you. You can branch out into really any kind of pathway that you can think of within the field of pharmacy. You can interact with patients, and it also allowed me to mesh my more mathematical and sciencey side with healthcare. So upon reflection, I was like, yeah, I'm interested in this. And then also, I was thinking back to when my dad was in the hospital in the past during his journey in recovering from his stroke. I remember seeing and talking to the pharmacist more than I saw his surgeon or the physician. The amount of medical knowledge that his pharmacist had was mind blowing. So during my second year of undergrad, I started looking into pharmacy schools and what the application process was like. At that time, UCSD was offering a 7-year program, which meant that I could apply right out of my second year. And if I was accepted, I would finish undergrad at UCSD in 3 years and then go on straight into pharmacy school program for 4 years, and then earn my bachelor's in science and my PharmD at the end of those 7 years. So I made it a goal to apply for that program, but by the end of my second year, I realized that I had a lot of credits built up and realized that I was only missing a couple of classes to just completely graduate. And if I did that, I could graduate a year early without compromising, not getting my bachelor's degree right after undergrad. It also meant that if I was able to fit in those classes within those 3 years, then I could apply to really any other pharmacy school, not just UCSD. So I went for it, but I also didn't want to apply for too many schools. In my mind at that time, I was like, okay, I'll shoot for 3 schools, and I wanted to stay in California. So I'll shoot for 3 schools in California that I'm interested in, and if it doesn't work, well, I technically have an extra year, a buffer year that I could take a gap year and work on my application and retry the next year. I applied to UCSD, USC, and UCSF and didn't expect anything, but to my surprise, I got interview offers for all of them. And so I interviewed with all of them and received acceptance letters. So the decision came down to a couple of things: location, pricing, so tuition pricing, and what my end goal was. I essentially rolled out USC because at that time they still had a graded letter system, and honestly, I didn't want to be in that sort of educational environment where I'm just so focused on getting an A instead of learning the material. So I ruled USC out. I will say though, for it being a private school, they offered a lot of grants, and it was essentially the same price as it would have been going to a public pharmacy school. And then I eventually ruled out UCSD because I wanted to branch out and explore out of SD, which I grew up in SD, went to undergrad at UCSD. So I just felt like I could take that opportunity to explore something new. And it was a bonus that UCSF is actually a 3-year program, and they focused heavily on clinical pharmacy. So that was what really captured me. In the long run too, I was thinking about okay, less schooling, less debt, So those are like a couple of things that played into how I ended up choosing the pharmacy school that I did. So throughout pharmacy school, I was very focused on the acute care, so like the clinical inpatient side of things. I thought that like that was what I wanted to do because that was most reflective of my goals when I was younger of becoming like a doctor and then having like a lot of patient interaction. However, after my second year of pharmacy school, I had ample opportunity to lead various student organizations on campus. And I realized that if there was one thing that I was proud of, like really proud of myself for doing in those 2 years, it was being able to lead others and be able to work with different types of people. And I realized that I was good at it and I found a lot of gratification enjoying doing so. So I started exploring like what kind of pharmacy career pathways there were in which I could do that. And so that's how I came across the Health Systems Leadership and Administrative Residency Program. These residencies are constructed to help people develop their leadership management skills, but in the first year, it's focused on, of course, like developing the clinical skills and then leaning into the managerial and leadership skills during the second year. So some of the rotations that you would be taking in these what I call like HSPAL rotations would include like supply chain, finance, resource management, operational and clinical management. So then during my third year of pharmacy school, now we were starting to do our like advanced practice rotations, or APPEs is what we call them. I like found any opportunity I could to dive into admin related projects. Even if I was on a clinical rotation, I would ask preceptors for like any project work that they had on hand that could give me like more insight onto what that side of pharmacy looked like. And then shortly after that, I applied for residency, specifically with the HSPAL programs. So that's my story of how I got into pharmacy and why I'm doing a residency now, specifically in leadership management and administration. Let me know if you have any other suggestions or ideas of what I could talk about, because I'm happy to share about my life. If you enjoyed this video, please like and hit the subscribe button, and you can also leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope that if you are someone who's aspiring to go into the pharmacy field, you can realize that there is so much that you can do within pharmacy. You are not limited at all, and I hope you find this helpful.